Hello friends, welcome to Salesforce CRMatics video session 101. So basically in today's video, we will actually check what the challenges which we faced during the previous time where we created a lens and when we were filtering with that multi-value that was getting filtered, but on the UI section the proper values were not popping up. Okay, so how we can overcome those challenges we will check right now. So first of all, let me just quickly show you that lens once again, which I created in the previous video. Now, as I showed you over here, when I'm going for morning, that's completely fine. It's getting filtered. But however, the thing is that, the shift preference, it is showing me in the UI, the other values over here. Now, mind you, this is something which we only encounter when we are viewing the values table. For example, now if I go to my compare table section, we will not face this issue. For example, if I just go to compare table, okay, and for example, here if I just put the shift preference. So here of course like it's matching. So in my contact records, like we walked through the earlier video, we have a total of 5 records if you're having that shift preference as morning, 4 days after, 2 days evening, and that is what we are able to see over here as well. Okay, so with compatible functionalities, that's completely fine. And also if we shift to the chart mode, so for example if I come to chart mode over here, so I'm able to see the proper value as well, which is completely fine. Now if I just take out the, if I take the full name into consideration, so that's completely fine that the name will get repeated, or I can just do one thing and take the full name at the top, and it's showing me the proper values. So yeah, this is not a good way, but that's completely fine. So when we are bringing a particular field, it's getting segregated over here, as you can see. Okay, I mean that is something which we have learned, that when it's a multi-value, when we are pulling it back over here, that definitely gets segregated. So that's fine, that's not a big deal. That happens. But the issue is that because it is coming as dimension, it's just taking something in the alphabetical order, the first value which we looked over here in this particular lens. Okay, so how we will resolve this now, that is something which we will check and see. So the only way to resolve this is, so of course, my client is not satisfied that it's showing the afternoon was filtered with morning. But my client is saying, okay, just show me all the values. So I understand that for this particular full name, we have the shift preference given is also morning along with afternoon. So the client is only asking that, just show me all the values in this particular table. That's it. He will be satisfied over it. So in this such kind of scenario, how we can tackle it? So let me just quickly go to that particular recipe section itself. And over here, we will create one transform node, and we will create a new field which will convert that multi-value to a text value. Okay. So here, what I will do is I will go for the transform node. Dealing with this, we will go over the custom formula. And as we already went through that function of array, so we will go for this array join. So here we will take that multiple and we'll put that particular delimiter as well. So this is my shift preference. And let me separate with a comma and a space. So yeah, even in the in the previous section in the recipe also, if you see, you're not able to see that complete value, right? Something which we already saw. I mean, if I open and export, we already see that over here. Okay, for startup round we have morning, afternoon, but here in the recipe previous section also, we are not able to see that properly. But that value exists. Okay, so let me just tell you, just put it in that way. And what I can do is, like here, I can just write shift preference, something like text. I think that's completely fine. Okay, and this output type will be text, of course, and let me click on apply. Now, of course, because in the previous section, not all the values are popping up. So whenever you're dealing with multi-value, always ensure that you don't check the previous section of the recipe, because anyhow it it actually doesn't show you the complete value, uh, whatever the delimiter is there, before that it shows those value. So yeah, a few things gets trimmed off when you go for the previous section. So dealing with multi-value, always ensure you always just check it on the dataset side. Okay, so that's the thing. Now yeah, that is fine. Right now I'm done, and here let me just write. Okay, so that's the thing. And now we will check under that same lens. Once we bring this field in the UI section of the values table, we will get to see the complete value. Okay, so let me just save and run this. And of course, let's monitor this as well. Let it run. Now, as you can see, the recipe ran successfully. So now if I just open this lens, let me reload it. And currently, of course, the shift preference is there. But if I bring this field right now, okay, that is shift preference text. You see, now it is showing me that proper value. And of course, you can always rename it from here. So now what I can do is I can probably remove this one. And now, of course, my client is satisfied that when he puts the filter on morning, he is able to see all the contact name. But right now in the UI also of that values table, he is able to see all the values which were coming up. Okay, so of course this has been a text. So that's the way he is satisfied, and that resolves the issue. Like when you're bringing a multi-value field from a Salesforce object, and for the particularly for the values table, because we don't see this issue on compare table or in the here in the chart mode. So at that particular point of time, you have to ensure that if that field is somehow selected, which ideally happens, so they don't get to see that proper information like under in the UI. The filtering happens properly. So with the multi-value section, the filtering always happens properly. And when you go to the chart mode, it gets divided as well over there. That's completely fine. But under values table, it just the text gets trimmed off. It just takes the alphabetical first order, and the rest of the values which are there in the cell get streamed off. So that's the thing. Now in this way it's resolved. However, you still need that multi-value to do the filtering properly, because if the client now wants to, like if we bring a, so of course we haven't gone through the dashboard right now, but when we bring some dashboard under the filter section, and if he selects this particular chip preference, then that will be helpful for him. So we need this to get the filter, but to show on the UI, we can just bring this additional text. Okay. So let me save this and let me tell you like why we shouldn't do the filter from the text part, because from the text part, they won't be able to select the individual values. For example, if a client wants to see like what are those, let show me those people or contact who have the shift preference of afternoon. Okay. So he wants to just select that afternoon part, isn't it? So that only is possible if we bring that multi-value. However, when you convert something to text, you cannot bring that particular field under the filter section. So what I mean by that is, now, of course, I have saved this. So for example, under this filter section, now instead of shift preference, if you go for, let's say I delete this one, and let's say instead of shift preference, you're going for shift preference text. Okay. And the problem is now here, they won't be able to select that one. Now, for example, here my client needs all the persons who are there in the morning, who are preferring the morning shift preference. But here is not able to select, like you have to select all this morning, afternoon, morning, evening, morning, because it will be a cumbersome process for you. And now the thing is that here for the multi-select request, we only have like three values. I've just given three values, that is morning, afternoon, evening. However, that in real time scenario, you have those kind of projects where the multi-select because there can be a lot of values, isn't it? So ideally, that's not the proper way to us to represent, to give that lens to that clients, where they have to select all those fields. Like they just want to select that value of morning. Okay, they don't want to select the other values which are having along with that particular value which they want to select, and it will be a tougher process for them. Okay, so definitely on the filtering section, you can't go ahead and apply uh, that specific morning shift preference. Okay, so that's not possible because as I told you, the text is concatenated. So this is not the way. So ideally, with the multiple, you can do the filtering properly. But as I showed you under UI, you can just bring that additional text. So that's the thing. Let me just quickly revert this back. Yeah, so that is all about this one. And yeah, of course, we can check how this works properly when we build some dashboard at a later section. Currently, of course, we are just going dealing with the data layer itself. So that point of time, we will understand how in real time scenario this is quite a helpful thing for our client. So that's it about this video. And in our next video, actually, we will check. Now, if the condition is, let's say you don't want to uh, change that. So you don't want to create a new additional field, right? So in this case, we had created a new additional field. Now, if you can also just neglect this new creation of a new derived field. Instead, there's a special functionality which we have. So if you go to setup, and of course, we will walk through in details in our next section, but I can just give you a heads up of what we will be actually walking through. So under analytics, you have this section called mb underscore to underscore string. Okay. So as you can see here, okay, yeah. So there's this under settings you have this checkbox that is enable indexing of multi-value fields in CI matrix. So if you see here, it basically tells that when you don't enable it, like currently it's disabled by default, it will be disabled for you. Basically, it will just return that first value in the alphabetical or in the multi-value. But however, if you enable this cell, it will show all the values in that particular multi-value field under the value state. We will walk through this as well. Okay. But yeah, for now, I think we can just stop it over here. And I hope you understood this. I hope you understood how this real-time scenario is pretty much helpful. Okay. And if you face such kind of scenario, how you can resolve it for your client, right? So yeah, that's it about this video, and let's meet very soon in our next one.